Welcome back to another episode of Spiritual Teachers Podcast. With me today is Cinderella. Cinderella is a neuropsychology coach, a sacred ceremony minister for the Divine Light Collective, and a holistic healer. Welcome on, Cinderella. It's such an honor to have you.
Same. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome. We're going to potentially talk about how ceremony and coaching are a powerful combination. We'll talk about nervous system regulation, plant medicine as a healing tool, how to handle trauma and stress in these times we're living in, and somatic release, as well as whatever else comes through. So the way this podcast usually goes is we would love to hear about how it all started for you, how the awakening journey began for you.
Yeah, gosh, for me, awakening was not something overnight that, like source knocked on my door and give me a good shake. And I'm like, ooh, now I see the world so different. Where there are people that I speak to, they have these type of experiences. For
Hmm.
me, absolutely not. I think it was a kind of a slow journey with opening doors more and more, to the next level, to the next level if there are any levels at all, whatever words we give to that. But what I do remember is when I was 6 years old, I had my tonsils removed in the hospital, but it
Mm.
went wrong. So at one point, my blood pressure dropped. I was vomiting a lot of blood. The doctors rushed in. They had to rush me to the operation room for a second operation to fix whatever they did wrong at the first time. It was all very scary. And at that point, I did went to a different place, to a different realm, and I could also see myself. Laying on the operation table and what happened, but I also apparently met a mother and a child. And my mother would explain to me when I came back from that whole incident, recovering at home, it really changed me. I was not really the same person anymore, and I was always asking about the spiritual mother and her child, how I wanted to go back to them.
Hmm.
So my mother had to explain to me, well, I'm your earthly mother. You're not going anywhere yet. It's not your time yet. You're staying with me.
Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, I had like suddenly these little cards of what was Maria and Jesus next to my bed, and I didn't understood it fully, but I do believe that that was probably contributing to a shift within me
Hmm.
um, that opened me up to things.
Hmm.
And I grew up in a household where my mother is very spiritual, very psychic, intuitive, an amazing healer. So when I grew up, and for example, as a teenager, our hormones are fluctuating. We're doing stupid stuff at times, not making always the right decisions. And I would come home and I would not feel great. And she would like, well, go lay on the treatment table. And she would balance out my chakras and
Oh,
clear
wow.
negative energy. Yeah. So, she would be saging me and we had incense. She was very modern and she was scolded for it in a way like, oh, she's the witch of the family and was, kind of weird, was not totally accepted in that time. But she practiced. We had a little treatment room and she did that. So I
Wow.
grew up with it. Yeah, it was nothing weird for me about it. She could always guide me really well into, my stories of the spiritual mother and her child that I've met. And so that's a little bit of how I grew up. And when I was 20, I did my first Reiki certification. I want to get my initiation and know how that would work. But I didn't do anything with it. Later on, in my 30s, I started to do pranic healing, got some certifications in that.
Hmm.
But not until 2019, when COVID hit, I fully stepped into this healing realm
Hmm.
uh, and start to work with it on a daily basis. And I was like, oh, this is needed, like we
Hmm.
gotta get, and this I can make a profession out of it. That's amazing. Just one little nugget that I want to share in this story of like, what is that awakening then? So as I said, I think it was maybe that out of body experience, maybe
Hmm.
a near death
Yeah, it sounds
into,
like almost a near-death experience.
yes, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
can't fully recall it, but luckily my parents do.
Hmm.
So I was vocal about it.
Hmm.
Um, but then what else? The awakening. I think another big thing that I would like to share in this awakening story is when I traveled the world for 2 years. Um, and when I lived in Australia for a while, it was when I got introduced to yoga and to being
Mm.
vegetarian.
Hmm. That's
Even if
huge.
my mother, yeah, yeah, and even if my mother was a healer, my household was not vegetarian. We didn't, like, my parents were not actively like carrying out meditation or yoga or a spiritual way of living,
Hmm.
besides my mother doing treatments on people. Um, so yes, I got introduced to that. It was so funny because I never heard of hummus. Uh, I never ate an avocado in my life. I
Wow.
didn't know what almond butter was. I never did yoga. I never did breath work. So that was a huge like blast into wow, what else is there? I was diving deep into Abraham Hicks. That was channeled through Esther Hicks and the law of manifestation, universal laws. So, yeah, that was a big turning point when I was 30,
Hmm.
but not an overnight spiritual awakening.
Hmm.
So, yeah, hope that it makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's so beautiful that you were basically raised in these ways. So few people that I know in the spiritual community had that support from their, one of their family members. I
Yeah,
believe a part of me believes that for most people, there's at least one family member or like a close friend that really helps support us,
yeah.
like and what was interesting for me was my father and I had an awakening like 2 weeks apart, but it was
Okay.
it was in 2000 like 13, 2014. And so, but before then, I didn't have like my mom was spiritual. She started doing yoga and she started doing meditation. She would go to like different Zen Buddhist temples and things like that. She was really starting to open up to that. And then something shifted where at the same time she was also like focusing a lot on finances and really trying to build those up. And then eventually she ended up getting paralyzed from the chest down
Oh,
and
wow.
paralyzed for 5 years. And that like really jetpacked my journey and my dad's because we were both like, we want to help her. Let's find as many modalities as we can. Let's
Hmm.
approach it from every angle. And so, uh, yeah, long story short, it was until she passed in 2020, right before COVID. It was a huge like it brought my dad and I really close, and it allowed for that support from a family member, and from what I've seen with different people, there's usually at least one person, whether it's a cousin or a close friend, who kind of like supports. But when it's a family member, especially a
Yeah,
parent, it feels even more supportive. So it's really special. Not a lot of people have had
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, and how I relate to it, like when we talk about Peru and the Amazon, the tribes, it's also passed down right from generation to generation, the tools and the knowledge, and that's how I feel in this case as well. Like, yeah, we come from a Western country, originally the Netherlands in Europe, but she passed that on to me, the interest and the skills. And when I turned 42, I believe, she gave me, because I'm turning 43 almost, she gave me her set of tuning forks
Oh, wow.
that she always worked with. So that was such a beautiful gift that now I work with that on my clients. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's amazing. And she gave me a beautiful eagle feather with to do a special heart clearing for
Oh,
shamanic healing.
wow.
Yeah, it's so precious. Absolutely. Yeah.
The eagle feather in particular is so sacred, especially in North
Hmm.
America.
Yeah.
In the native traditions uh, that I've been studying for several years now, uh, the eagle feather usually is only given when you've done like 4 years of Vision Quest or you're ready for Sundance, which is a really deep ceremony,
Yeah.
and you dance with the feather, uh,
Mm,
and you hold the feather fan while you're dancing, and yeah, there's so much to that, but it's really beautiful. I didn't know this, but I found one in Pennsylvania of a brown bald eagle feather, just
yeah.
walking on a trail, and
Wow.
and I kept it for so many years, and a few years ago I gifted it to one of my friends, and
Oh.
he gifted me his sheepskin that he had meditated thousands of hours on, and took it to the Golden Temple in India, and I was like, all right, this is a fair exchange and feels
Yeah.
like it's ready to go, so let's do it. But
Oh, beautiful.
yeah, it brings up the question, and I'm so curious because you grew up in Europe, in the Netherlands, and I was born in Europe. I was born in Russia, and I moved here really young, at 4 years old. And growing up in the Netherlands, I'm curious, like, uh, are there it's so important to connect to our ancestors and to learn the different lineages. And in Russia, for example, they have the word shaman came from Russia originally, and there's most of the shamans live in Siberia and very remote places. They work with the red mushroom with the white spots on it,
Yeah.
and I would see it, when I would go visit every summer when I was younger. I would see it growing, and it always grew next to the most edible and most delicious mushroom, the bolete mushroom or the king mushroom.
Hmm.
And it's a huge thing in Russia to collect mushrooms. And and my grandma would always say, "Don't ever touch that one because it's really poisonous. It kills a lot of people." And later on in my life, I learned that if you work with it in a very sacred way, there's ways to, the shamans there will feed it to the deer, and then they'll drink the deer urine, or they'll dehydrate it in a specific way, and then they can work with it. But it's supposed to be like a really deep shadow work experience for a lot of people.
Hmm.
And so I'm just curious, like, were you able to connect with any of my dog's here visiting? Were you able to connect with any of your lineage, like maybe of the that whole area is known for the Vikings and
Correct. But funny enough, I can tell you the answer is no. When I lived in the Netherlands, there was nothing that I was really understanding in that sense.
mm,
When we speak about chakra balancing or a clearing, it was very much connected to the angelic realm, working
mhm,
with Archangel Michael, Raphael, bringing that in, things like
mhm,
that. But I was not. As far as I know, I think my mother neither was really busy, busy, occupied with the ancestral connections.
uh-huh,
No, it was a little bit. I think we connected with a different dimensional realm, so to say, right?
mhm,
You have the
mhm,
elementals, you have people who are more into that really shamanic, ancestral connection. Others with the angels. So no, I was not. I was totally not in. And you know why I felt the Netherlands was too small for me? I Now I know because I could not develop. I could not grow spiritually.
right.
There was no platform. There weren't the energy wasn't there for me. Even
Mhm,
if my mother was there, um, nothing else I was connected to there. I felt really compressed in a way, and I was like, I can't see myself living here. Every time when I was like, well, I gotta find a home somewhere where I'm going to live. What work am I going to do? And I just could not see it. And so I left. I traveled for many instances for many months. And when I was 28, I just left with a one-way ticket. I just
mhm,
felt the Netherlands wasn't my place.
mhm,
So no, there it didn't happen. It happened in the jungle in Puerto Rico when I sat in an ayahuasca ceremony. It
mm,
happened in Australia, sitting in a sound bath or a yoga class. It happened at other places. I went to Fiji, learning from the tribes, drinking their brew. I learned by traveling, going to Indonesia, learning about the Buddhism, learning about Hinduism, going into temples.
Hmm.
That was my path.
Yeah, yeah, that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And I for me, I'm the same way. I felt like I grew up on the East Coast, and I felt like I had met a few of my teachers, my Reiki master, my angelic integrated energy therapy teachers,
Yeah.
and I met a few other teachers, and then I felt like confined, like I needed to expand, and I found
Hmm.
Kundalini yoga there in
Oh
this
yeah.
tiny little studio in Scranton. But then after that, I could feel it. I was like, this is the limit for me here. And I need to
Yeah.
go learn and expand and meet my other teachers. And so San Diego was calling so strong. And so I came to San Diego and met so many more of my teachers and Soul Tribe, like
Yeah.
I called them all in and it was yeah, so beautiful. So I
Yeah.
can totally relate to that, and and it's so interesting, like these little experiences. Like for me, my Reiki attunement was really like a really big spiritual experience for the first time, where in meditation while we're getting attuned, I saw all the symbols and it was just really like, wow, there's so much more to
Hmm.
this reality, right?
Yeah.
And
Super cool. I love it too. I was very intrigued by holistic healing modalities,
mhm,
right? And I was trying all these different ones out, ET healing or regression, and just I love to like dive into what else is there.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I would never just go directly to a doctor or take medications and things like that. It was always, well, what can we do energy wise?
Mhm.
Like, yeah,
Yeah, and that's huge because a lot of people think, and there are times when it's important, like after you've tried a lot of things to take antibiotics or to go to the
yeah, of
Western
course.
medicine, and it saved me many times. But I have had many experiences where just clearing out the energy, connecting to what the underlying cause of the dis-ease is in the body, whether it's emotional or some sort of stagnant energy or a pattern from childhood or ancestral,
Yeah,
then when that's cleared, the
things
illness or
flow.
the disease is gone. Yeah.
Absolutely. And when I later in life started to study neuropsychology, and I'm a certified polyvagal therapy practitioner. It's
Oh,
a
wow.
long word, but the polyvagal therapy is really very interesting. So it is looking at the nervous system as a whole. And if you're very long in fight or flight, or sometimes even freeze mode, yes, you can get all these illnesses in your body, right? And then, yeah, we would go to a doctor and he looks at, oh, you have this, so I will treat that. But actually, when the nervous system is out of whack, so to say, um, yeah, you will have to keep taking the medication. So I was very intrigued by, okay, the energy body, that's a big aspect of health, how
Mhm,
we feel, hormonal, mentally. But in the body, a lot of things can be regulated by understanding how to bring back the nervous system into rest and digest and see where the trauma perhaps falls in
mhm,
active memory or non-active. So I started to add that on to, all the spiritual wisdom, so called, that was already there. And
mhm.
I love that. I feel science and ancient wisdom is a powerful combination. I don't
Oh,
think
big
one
time.
can go without the other.
Big time for sure. And I don't know, was it like this in the Netherlands where in Russia, for example, the holistic pharmacies were still to this day are very prevalent. You can go
Yeah.
in and you can get herbs, you can get natural remedies, and it's not like here where
No.
with the Rockefeller movement and everything, it was kind of squashed down with the pharmaceutical
Hmm.
movement. But over there, the approach is always either homeopathic or some sort of natural ways to try to
Yeah.
address it, and
Yeah.
it's known there, and people believe it, and it works because people, the collective consciousness there is like this is what's going to work, and
Yeah.
it works amazing. And I mean, this is there's plants that heal everything on the planet, and
Yeah.
I truly believe that.
Yeah, me too. I don't have the knowledge. I'm not a herbalist, unfortunately. I don't have the knowledge in depth about all the plants.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's a fact, what you're saying. I totally believe that. Um, as in the Netherlands, for sure, in Europe, they don't want to label too quick. They are really down to earth. Like, look at childbirth. That's just natural. You're
Hmm.
not going to get an epidural. Like, epidural, no. Like, you are born to birth naturally.
Hmm.
Um, if you have a little bit congestion or whatever, no, you're not going to take medicine. You're not running to the pharmacy. You're just staying at home. Maybe you boil a pot of water, you put some aroma drops in it, and you just steam it out. It's like, yeah, it's all like, oh, don't do so crazy. Just go natural. Your body will tell you. Just rest or yeah, it's different culture.
Yeah, I know when I was a kid, anytime I would have like a sinus infection or a cough, we would just boil some potatoes
Yeah,
and have the hot water, and then you put a towel over your head
yeah,
and breathe the hot potato water,
yeah.
and it would clear a lot of mucus, and I would feel so
Yes,
much better after. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and or onion. I remember they would cut a half an onion, put it next on your nightstand at night.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, just totally different, I guess, old school remedies. But hey, healthy. It works.
Then they work, yeah. Like putting
Yeah,
onions in your socks
yeah,
before bed, it like absorbs all those toxins through your feet.
yeah.
And nowadays they have little pads you can buy that if you put them into your at the bottom of your foot at night, they have like a little adhesive. They turn black sometimes because it's sucking out all those toxins. Yeah.
I didn't never heard of that one, but that's a great invention.
Yeah, yeah, but it stems from that, right? It stems from those
Yeah,
old school ways of just using an onion
yeah,
and using that to absorb, and it's
yeah.
amazing. So I think now with technology and with all the modern science, there's just really cool ways to approach things, and uh, you know yeah, it's really cool, and I love I love to talk about this because my mom would always give me. Did you guys use a lot of propolis in the Netherlands?
No, I don't even know. What is the word again? What
Uh,
do you
pro
say it?
Propolis. It's like from the beehive. They take um, it's basically like defensive mechanisms that the bees put inside the
Okay.
hive from
I think so.
from from bugs and parasites and things,
Hmm.
where they coat the hive with this secretion called propolis.
Yeah.
And
Okay, no, never heard of it.
yeah, so you can gather it, and then you can add alcohol to it, and then it's got huge benefits. So my grandma would use it for everything. If you had a stuffy nose, just put some propolis on a paper, on a cotton ball, and stick it in your nose.
Yeah.
If you have an ear infection, put it in your ear, and it
Yeah.
worked. It worked amazing. It stings in the nose, but in the ears,
Yeah.
it just feels warm, and
Okay.
it was, I still use it to this day.
Yeah.
Another thing she would do is like take a natural wool like scarf,
Yeah.
uh, and just wrap it around your stomach or put it under your shirt when you have a stomach ache. That
Okay.
works really well. You know,
Wow.
like
Wow.
these
Yeah.
really simple
Yes.
approaches that are so effective.
Totally. But I feel like in the world of everything is profit driven, like that, they cannot make money on, you
Right,
know?
right,
Like buy an onion and sold, buy the
right.
scarf. No, so yeah, everything is turned into patches, into pills, into things. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
gosh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, part of my vision is to is to have naturopaths, Ayurvedic doctors,
Hmm.
homeopaths, all that on the podcast as well, because
Yeah.
they can share all these deeper techniques. And
Yeah.
um, I have an episode that will come out before this about an Ayurvedic practitioner. So
Oh, great.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then I
You
have
know what
some
people do, if people don't know, they also don't have choices. So
exactly
it's yeah, we just need to educate people so they know their options and hopefully steer people into the different direction other than what is promoted on TV, which obviously all profit driven. So
for sure, for sure.
yeah.
And also there's so many negative effects from antibiotics, for example. They strip
Yeah.
all your good microbes in
Yeah.
your small intestine, large intestine,
Yeah.
colon, and then it takes a long time to rebuild that with probiotics,
Yeah.
prebiotics. People are even doing things now on the more extreme end of things called fecal implants. Have you heard of that?
No.
Yeah, so I only know one or two people that have done it, but a fecal implant is they take the stool of somebody
Yeah.
who lives a very natural life who has
Yeah.
never taken antibiotics, like say in Africa,
Yeah.
and they take that stool and implant it inside of your colon, and then
Wow.
those gosh, there's a fly flying around. But
Yeah, he's joining.
yeah, but they implant that in your colon, and then the all those good microbes start to grow inside your colon,
Wow.
and it's a
It
crazy.
sounds so nasty.
I know, it's a crazy thing to think
And,
about.
but apparently it doesn't make us sick. We can just use somebody else's feces to.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing, but whoever
Yeah.
tried it out the first time, I mean, it's effective with
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
these, I mean, and that's, that's about as natural as you can get. So,
Oh my gosh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I did discover when I have two children, 6 and 8 years old, and one of them I did the placenta encapsulation.
oh
So yeah,
wow.
the placenta, yeah, will be dehydrated and prepped and with herbs and things and grind it up and then basically put in like such a pill.
Hmm.
This is not it though,
Right.
but that's just how it looks like.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and that seemingly helps the women produce the milk and recover and all kinds of good things. And some people they just have the natural placenta and they will put it in a blender
Hmm.
as a smoothie and
Make a
drink it.
smoothie. Yeah. It's a,
I know that went a little too far for me,
yeah.
but hey, yeah, there are definitely good things out there. Yeah, to
Yeah.
help
And,
us
and
heal.
if you think about the natural world, every animal, they eat their
Yeah.
placenta after.
Yes. Yeah. There's a reason. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
I'm sure that I mean it's so much minerals and
Iron to be put back in
yeah,
your body. Yeah.
yeah. I think it makes complete sense, and then I mean also with that extreme, fecal implant, people in yoga uh, use urine therapy.
Oh, they drink their morning urine, I think.
Yeah, and so it also using urine as like to ferment it, leave it to ferment so
Oh,
it turns darker.
okay.
And then you drink it. There's all this
Wow.
plasma and different benefits from that. But yeah, you
Okay.
want to take it in the morning when it's the cleanest
First,
and the
yeah, the
purest. Yeah.
cleanest. Yeah, yeah, the pure. Yeah, that's what I've heard. That definitely, yeah, that it's apparently a healthy thing to do that. I haven't done it, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess there's stages to it. I haven't done it, but
yeah,
sometimes I'll pee in the bath, and there's benefits
yeah,
to that for the skin, and
yes.
but that's about as far as I've
Oh,
taken it so
that's
far.
cool.
Yeah,
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 that's cool. Oh, I
yeah,
didn't know there were real benefits to that. Okay,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, but you also have to
Interesting.
be really aware that you're not taking any antibiotics, you're not taking any over-the-counter stuff because
No.
that's all going to come out. But also something that I learned, which I haven't talked about on the podcast, which is fascinating to me, is that if you get a sting from a scorpion or get
Yeah.
bit by a snake, something really venomous, that could be life-threatening. Within seconds, your body produces the antibodies to it. And
Mm.
so if you pee right away and you drink it, your body
Oh,
will have the antivenom in that urine. So
wow.
yeah, I haven't tried it. I've just read some studies about it and
Yeah.
some people that have done it. And from what I can tell so far, it's effective.
Amazing,
Our
huh?
body's
Amazing.
amazing.
It is a recent study, I believe. Well, if we need to, if we can believe what we find on the internet, is now that they are doing solid frequency healing on cancer. So, yeah, well, we knew that already, right? That frequency can heal and all that. But now apparently they are adapting that into the hospitals. It's a specific name for it. However, they do it. They don't do it with sound bowls, they do it with some whatever other proper setup they do to work on the frequencies. So yeah, it's coming out. It's coming out that there's. I believe nature created everything, and nature has a remedy also for everything. And in the end, when things die, obviously we will go back into nature. That's the cycle. But takes a lot of studying and studying like the plants and making it all and the Western world, we're cutting down trees, we're building things. We are distant more and more of that lifestyle and
For
that
sure.
knowledge.
For sure,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of the kids coming in are so tapped into that and so
Yeah.
connected to Mama Gaia and to
Yeah.
the planet, and they're not like one of my buddy's daughters, she's 9 years old, and we'll be going on a hike and she'll see like some like this tiny little uh carved in with like a rock or something, like a little
Mhm.
graffiti just carved into a hiking sign, and she'd be
Yeah.
like, "No, I do not accept this type of behavior." And like she's so adamant about
Mm.
graffiti and about like picking up trash, and I've been like that my whole life, but it's so awesome to see the younger
Yeah.
generations being so adamant about it. And
Hmm.
and just to rewind it a little bit, what you mentioned, the frequency, I think that's a really important topic because um, my friend let me borrow her Rife machine, which is that it has two metal electrodes that are like little cylindrical metal tubes, and they're
Hmm.
hooked up to positive charge and a negative charge, and then this machine uh, emits different frequencies, and it comes with a big fat book, and it treats everything. In that book,
Wow.
yeah, in that book, it's like treating Lyme disease, parasites, depression, addiction, you name it, it's in there. Cancer. And all you do is just set the preset to whatever disease or whatever illnesses you're going through, and this
Hmm.
frequency will emit for like 5 to 15 minutes, depending on what you're treating, and
Hmm.
it'll vary between the frequencies. And this has all been studied, and I think his name was William Rife, who created this machine in the early 1920s or 1940s.
Wow.
It's been developed since then, and you can buy it online for like the better ones are close to $2,000 to $4,000. But
Hmm.
I mean, this thing was amazing. I had some bronchitis going on, and I treated it, and with one session, my cough was gone.
That's amazing. Oh no,
And
I
I just
highly believe in that.
so I'm
That's
yeah,
Yeah. But again, huh, like, yeah, they can make profit on such a machine, but then that's it.
right,
All these medications would fall apart.
for
So
sure.
they obviously try to keep, yeah, I think humanity controlled in that sense and dumb and
Mhm.
sick,
Yeah.
um, which is really sad. But that machine, yeah, that's incredible. I've never heard of that machine. Wow.
Yeah, it sounds like something similar to what you were mentioning, and if they're
Yeah.
incorporating it
Yeah.
in the hospital, that's
Yes.
profound. I haven't heard about that.
Yes, yes, yes. Look it up. You might find that article. I didn't save it, but I'm like, oh, great. Finally, they're, coming to senses, and yeah, it's
Well,
really
it,
nice.
it it also brings me to the topic of like this one man that I know. Uh, he has created and has been working for many, many years now on using frequency to create like living fruits and
Yeah.
things like that. Like, and he's been successful with it, but it's very
Wow.
like behind the scenes
Yeah.
still. But like it makes so much sense because if frequency can manipulate matter, then we can create matter with frequency as well.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So I think back in the days, lots of things has been done with it. Look at the pyramids and what they found with the pillars going under the ground and to create certain frequencies for communication or to teleport or I don't know what they did with it, but
Mhm.
it was all known.
Mhm.
And then it all got distinct or covered or whatever happened, right? So um, yeah, slowly it might be coming back. We might be retrieving the knowledge and start to implement it again. I'm excited.
For sure, for sure. And what speaking of the pyramids, yeah, it's so amazing that they did those LiDAR scans and found all
Yeah,
those really huge, like I think they're like as long as the Empire State Building or something like that into the
absolutely.
ground. And from have watched so many documentaries on the pyramids, and the one
Yeah.
that resonates the most for me is that they were a way of producing like positive ions, which was
Mm-hmm.
like free energy that people that
Yes.
lived around there could just tune into it with it was just in the air, and it was good
Yes.
for the body, and it could run all their devices, and it could
Absolutely.
heal.
I
And
believe that exists. I believe totally. We can do that again. They just
yeah,
that's the matrix, right? We're stuck in that in the grid lines of what they now we need to pay for energy, where it is apparently free.
right.
It blows my mind when I but it's coming out. So
Yeah. And there's a lot of people
oh,
working in their garages that
yeah,
were
right.
creating
Yeah,
Tesla,
they
the
are.
original Tesla technology,
Yes.
Nikolai Tesla. I've
Yeah.
seen people take batteries like old car batteries and that are no longer holding a charge. They're like dead,
No.
considered to normally throw away, and they make what are
Hmm.
called battery sails, where they connect all those dead batteries, and then they run a charge through them, and it creates this massive battery that recharges all of them and can
Wow.
can be this like generator basically.
Yeah.
And so there's some amazing things out there that are becoming more and more prevalent. And as humanity awakens, more and
Yeah.
more of this is going to come online. And I mean, look at the hydrogen cars that are coming out. I mean, that's
Yes.
massive, massive
Yes.
improvements because if you can take some water, pour it in your car and drive for a couple hours, I mean,
Yeah.
like that's amazing. I mean, and I remember reading
For
about
us, it is. For us, it is. For us, it's great.
I know, it's so profound. And I remember
Yeah.
reading about the first electrical car. I think like they created it back in like the 40s or 20s, 1920s.
Wow. Took a long
Something,
time.
don't quote me, but it was way back when, like
Yeah.
probably close to 100 years ago, and they just
Yeah.
suppressed that because it was so
Yes.
efficient and
Yeah.
so they could drive for so much longer and it was so much better for the planet. But
Yeah.
these bigger corporations were like, nope, the oil
Hmm.
companies in particular were like, nope, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
So
No. But
yeah,
we're standing up. There's a shift happening
big time.
energetically that lasts until 2027, if I'm correct. So yeah, it's there's a lot of changes and people feeling it, and you know, lots of shifts. Um, Maybe some stagnation financially as well. But 2027 should be like the liberation of that. So let's see.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of really beautiful things already happening, and a lot of it's behind the scenes, but a lot of it
Yeah,
is about to come out, and yeah, it's really something profound and special with
yeah.
all those things. And I mean, it's long past due that we tune into these things.
Totally. I mean, it was all suppressed. Everything existed already. Like if all that we find right now, right? It's coming to the surface, and yeah, people are curious about Antarctica. What's behind the ice wall?
Oh yeah,
Is the Earth flat? Are we a dome?
right.
Are we like? Oh my God, there's so many mysteries.
I
Yeah,
know. I know.
yeah,
Antarctica is such a um it's such a mysterious place. There's so
yeah,
much under the ice that they're finding
yeah,
pyramids and extraterrestrial
yeah.
vehicles, and it may be where Atlantis was.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. That's what they think. And there's speculations that there is even still a civilization out there.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, 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 yeah. It's well, we might not discover it in our lives, but maybe
Yeah,
in a new incarnation.
yeah. I mean, it is interesting that a lot of the recent presidents have gone down there, and a lot of different people. And there's some videos online, but of people going down there, but most of them, everything's so um, regulated and
Yeah,
watched
very
over.
confidential. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's not easy to get like the real
No,
deal of what's really going on there. But
totally. And they protect it so well because I'm sure truth that is laying there or what's happening there is just going to destroy many people's vision about mostly religion or who we are, where we come from. Maybe gives a lot of people a lot of fear. Who knows? So there must be a reason why they are keeping that such a high top secret. Yeah.
yeah, and on Gaia, the platform Gaia.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a conscious Netflix for those that don't know, but it
Yeah.
has a lot of amazing programs on there for this kind of stuff. And some of them that I've watched have talked about how there's like a portal because it's almost like the Earth is like a torus, which makes
Yeah.
sense because our energy field is like a torus, and a torus
Yeah.
is kind of like a donut. It's in the shape of a
Yeah.
donut. Like if you
Yeah.
look at an apple, it runs inside, and
Yeah.
like it's like a continuous flow. A lot of Tesla technology was it the Nikolai Tesla technology was in the toroidal fields, and
Yeah.
um, and so some of the programs I've watched talk about how the Earth has a torus, and so
Hmm.
there's this way to transport through the planet from Antarctica to the North Pole
Yeah.
through this torus.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean all those things are fascinating to me because if I believe everything is fractal, so
Yeah.
everything is broken down smaller and smaller, and
Hmm.
down to the atomic level and smaller than that. So
Yeah.
if we have a torus around our body, then every plant, every living being does as well, and then that would make sense that the Earth would as well, because it's
Yeah.
also very much living. And COVID was a great
Absolutely.
example of that, where the whole planet was like sick. And it was
Yeah.
like, I need a break from
Yeah.
all this craziness, And and so
Yeah.
that just showed how, the planet took a global break, and
Yes.
so many animals came back out from the wild onto the streets, and so much more life was able to come back online and out of the
Yeah.
shadows.
Yeah. Wonderful. What we considered bad was for Mother Nature good.
Right.
So, yeah, I had a great time in COVID though. Yeah. Uh, I was, yeah.
That was the best
But
year
yeah,
of my
that's,
life,
yeah, yes.
hands down.
Most abundance. Um, yeah, most inventive. In like shaping my business into a new way and most growth and yeah, no, I was not so affected by it, luckily, so
I think it's a frequency. It's just an
yeah,
example of the frequency that the people chose in that time,
yeah,
whether to choose fear or to choose love. And those of us that
yeah,
chose love had amazing, expansive experiences.
yes,
It was just
yeah,
profound. I mean, I, myself and my soul tribe were just living the dream. Nobody was
yes,
working. we were meditating every morning at 6:30 on the beach in Encinitas, and then we would do yoga or sound healing
Yeah.
or kirtan, and then we would go
Yeah.
get breakfast and have movie nights in my friend's backyard when everything was closed. With the
Yes.
movie on the screen outside, it was like it was so amazing, and none of us got sick. None of us got sick,
No, no,
and it was
no.
it was it was amazing. We had such a great time, and I mean, later on, it came around like a year or two later, but
Yeah.
throughout that whole beginning stage, it was really, really beautiful.
Yeah,
And
same here. Same here. I remember I was still traveling to Costa Rica, had the time of my life there. Like everything just flowed. Everything was fine. I was in the salsa and bachata dance scene.
Mhm.
I was putting up events there for the people who also just wanted to connect and didn't have that fear. And oh yeah, we had great underground situations.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was a really special time,
Yeah.
and it kind of it was kind of for me like felt like the world was ending at one point, and I was like,
Yeah.
well, if the world's ending, I might as well
Yeah.
just enjoy it and make the
Yeah.
best of it. If this is
Yeah.
the last I'm gonna be here, and and I think a lot of people felt similarly, and we were responsible about it, but we
Yes. No. Yeah.
we we also we also uh, you know didn't let all those strict regulations
Oh, totally. Yeah.
affect our
Yeah. Yeah.
life.
Yeah. No. 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 That's terrible. Yesterday I saw something coming by about a family who kept their kids actually, I think three of their kids. They kept them for 4 years inside, and just the police had to rescue them from their home this week because the parents kept them indoors because
This
of
week.
COVID. Yes. Yes. Yeah. 4 years they kept them in the house since COVID.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, there was a whole article about that. Like, yeah, there was so much fear installed that yeah, you got a hold to these people, and they made decisions that were even more unhealthy. Of course, gosh, the kids didn't see the
Oh
outside
God.
world.
I
So
really,
yeah,
I work with kids right now, and uh, there's an impact. There's an impact
Mhm.
on them, even just from that 1 or 2 years that they
Yeah,
had to be on the screens, and psychologically, it really
hmm
impacts them. And I think this is actually a beautiful way to segue into that. Like, I know we wanted to talk about the how to deal with the stress
yeah,
and those kind of things in today's society. So, what would you recommend for people that are maybe struggling with that
yeah,
a little bit right now, and maybe coming out
yeah,
of it from COVID, but also there's so many stressors in life that come up just
totally.
normally.
Oh, the demands of work, of family life, and mostly in the US, I find it a little bit stronger than elsewhere in the world. It's really focused on materialism, on status. What car do you drive? What job do you have? What friends do you have? The pressure. And I think that's poured in from a very young age. Like you got to have three hobbies. You got to be good at a sport. You got to be part of a team.
Hmm.
Like 3 times in a, 3 times a week, the kids are placed in different gymnastics and in dance and in baseball and in soccer, and they do so much. There's such an overload and stimulants in who they have to be. And I see here, working in the field of trauma informed coaching, etc., that people crash because that nervous system, that mental state, they can't last.
Hmm.
So they might hit 30 or 40 years old, and now they're on medication and they have three therapists, and they never met their authentic self. They only have been living from a place of what do my parents want, how the society sees me,
Hmm.
who do I need to be versus who am I.
Right.
Um, so that creates a lot of stress. That
Big time.
creates trauma, chronic trauma, um, and that creates illnesses. So it's a terrible loop to be trapped in. And I believe it actually starts, um, I guess, with parents who should maybe not be so demanding and just have lay low for a day. Like, don't do anything. Let them
Mhm.
be bored. They don't need to figure out at 4 years old what they're good at. They don't need to be, the shining star when they're 11. Let them
Mhm.
be. The talents will come out later
Right.
without you even pushing and trying. So I think everything starts with parenting and then also being able to be strong enough to stand up against these society pressures,
Mhm.
right? Um, but okay, going back to yes, how to manage stress is one. I believe spiritual connection is a big one,
Mhm.
and majority of the people therefore would run to church to find strength in their faith. But now my vision of certain religions is they have their rules.
Right.
So now they're listening to these rules of that institution, of
Mhm.
that religion, still not following their own truth and their own
Right.
calling.
Mhm.
But that's everyone's choice. I believe spiritual connection, however that may look like, is something to find peace within
Mhm.
and strength. So that in itself could calm down all these stressors. However, if we look at the other aspects, what we can do, I would say it's breath and it's meditation
Mhm.
are key to um, rewire the brain and the triggers and regulate the nervous system. Um, so if you're under high stress, worries a lot, turns into anxiety, can turn into depression, all these things, panic attacks. For me, that's a sign something is not regulated well.
Mhm.
So I would how I work with my clients is looking at triggers, like what triggers you. Could it be a trauma from the past, maybe an active memory, non-active, right? But it gets triggered. So from a neurological point of view, what's happening is that we have an amygdala that's basically the smoke detector. The amygdala in the brain is always scanning for threats.
Mhm.
So if there is a thought, a worry, or an active memory or a memory that lays dormant that you cannot recall anymore from back in your childhood, the amygdala scans and it will pick up on that. Then
Mhm.
the amygdala sends a signal into the nervous system. Um, we need to be on alert. It
Mhm.
produces dopamine, adrenaline, cortisol. We got to do something. I'm picking up. There is smoke. There's a threat,
Mhm.
even if the threat is not real.
Right.
It's just a thought can already trigger that.
And a
But
lot of
that
times the
means
threat isn't real.
no, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
perceived threat. But it's why we are created like that is you look at lions, animals in the wild, they are hunting, there are threats of attack. And then their body needs to respond to that very quick. So heartbeats goes up, sweaty, pupils go wide, ready to run or to fight.
Mhm.
And you see it also in animals in the wild that they um, drop dead. They pretend to be dead on the ground.
Mhm.
And then they kind of wake up after the threat is gone, the animal is gone, they haven't been attacked. And then they go into shaking.
Right. Like
Yeah.
myofascial unwinding.
Yes. And the
Mhm.
shaking is exactly what we need to do too to get out of the freeze mode or to get rid of that extra adrenaline of the fight mode.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So if we learn to understand why our body responds, and the nervous system runs through the whole body. Um, so it is about rewiring the body to brain, the brain to body. It's the feedback loop. So the brain signals into the body, threat, stress, whatever, gives a response, tight muscles, everything plays up, don't feel good. We can reprogram ourselves by through the body signaling to the brain we are safe, calm down, there's no stress, there's no threat, you're going to be okay.
Mhm.
And then we talk about like the shaking, meditation, breath, um, maybe cold water on your face or your hands. in the cold water. There are many different things that you can kind of do to regulate that.
Hmm.
Um, so that's from the body into the brain, signaling safe
Hmm.
to reduce stressors. But if you notice that a thought comes up, you can also already rewire that. So it's cognitive reframing of changing the thought pattern. So
Right.
there's a negative thought, you hold, stop, pause, count to five. What else is true? Can you ask? Oh, that is actually not true. Reframing it into something more positive, something that contradicts that.
Hmm.
And then the body will not give such a active, heavy response, stress response. So
Hmm.
that's a little bit talking about stress there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I love all those techniques, and I think coming like being in the moment, being in the now
Yep.
also is, and like verbal, I found that speaking things out loud has a
Mm-hmm.
huge effect. And I've
Yeah.
done this in my own practice and experimented with it a lot. So like if I'm feeling anxiety or a little bit worried about something I need to do that day, I'll sit down and I'll say I'm safe, I'm
Mm-hmm.
held, I'm grounded, and like really feel that energy of like grounding into the earth, bringing roots into the earth. And there are different modalities and so many different techniques that can help us train the
Yeah.
body to navigate the stress. Like Kundalini yoga, for example,
Yes.
you stress the body and then you relax. And so
Yeah.
it gets us ready for these moments in life where it's like, okay, this car just hit me. Like, what am I gonna do? And then it's like, okay, we're gonna figure this out. Let's take it one step at a time. Everybody's safe, nobody's hurt. And if somebody
Mhm.
is hurt, okay, let's manage that and then go from there. And then another tool that we were gonna mention is Hape.
Yes, yes. Hape is also, some people know it as rape,
Hmm.
rape or hape, all the same.
Yeah,
Uh, that actually also calms the vagus nerve instantly. And so what it is, it's shamanic snuff from the Amazon. Um, it's the ashes of tobacco, but also ashes of medicinal native seeds,
and
leaves,
herbs
things
and
like
roots. Yeah.
herbs. Yes, and that is a beautiful mixture, which is a gray powder and is administered through the into the nostrils with a beautiful little pipe. And yes, that gives people an instant sensation of relief, of grounding. It can be tingling all over the body, and they feel like really landing in their body, so to say. So out of the mind, out of that energetic field into, okay, here I am.
Right.
And they love that. And from that, a lot of times there is a release emotionally as well, because it's like that mask or the protector that they kept up there, it drops away and it's like,
Hmm.
oh my god, I feel myself now.
Right, right,
Yeah. And it's beautiful, but there is also emotion then, right? So then
right.
yeah, they can go through definitely some crying, and then ultimately at the end, after a few minutes, I would say there's this deep relaxation, and it's a beautiful, beautiful plant medicine. Yeah,
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 it's one of my favorite, and f- I just wanted to add on top of that there
yeah,
are different ways to release that energy and purge, especially on that medicine.
yeah.
Sometimes people will sweat, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
people will cry,
Yeah.
sometimes people will burp, sometimes people will fart, sometimes people will actually throw up, but not
Yeah.
without any food. That's just like a dry purge and like just the energy coming out. Other times
Mm-hmm.
it's actually like if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it after you just ate, because
No.
food might come out, or even like an hour or two after you want to wait till your stomach's empty. But
Yeah.
um, and shaking, shaking
Yeah.
sometimes. And for me, like the body starts to unwind a little bit sometimes, and then the tingling you were mentioning can be really beautiful and profound. Like I feel like sometimes if I'm really doing a lot of work to clear my body,
Mm-hmm.
I'll feel all that Reiki in my hands just start tingling
Yes.
like in Dragon Ball Z, the Super Saiyan, and then same thing in my feet. The chakras in the feet open up, and
Yeah,
then there's this buzzing. And I found the best thing that helps with that is I'll put it all on the earth, like
yeah,
right onto the dirt, onto the grass, and just send that to the planet for healing. And also it grounds me, and it helps like with any of that excess energy that
yeah.
I may be holding in my body, and it just clears it, and
Oh, totally.
it's really good. It's really
I use
powerful.
it a lot. I do it as a preparation in my sacred mushroom ceremonies. Uh, it gives people a beautiful foundation to just calm down further into ceremony before they would take the psilocybin,
Hmm.
um, the mushrooms. And I also do it, what I love to do when I have one-on-ones. Um, I start with that if people are open to it, because it's for me, I can clear so much of the energy while they are going through it. For me, it's really an opener to just work in their field. It's
Hmm.
very interesting. And then a lot of times, um, I can channel a lot of light language that's coming through.
Mm.
So I'm very connected to rapé somehow. That's really my medicine to move a lot of the energy around with. Yeah, yeah,
So, yeah, that's really interesting. You brought up light language. So,
yeah.
can you share a little bit about how that started for you and what that is for those not familiar?
Yeah, it started kind of out of nowhere, I have to say. Yeah, I'm doing my, like other things. I'm doing, my Reiki sessions, but I don't stick to Reiki or pranic healing. I mix and match all the tools that I've collected and experiences throughout the years, and I just put it in whatever is needed in that moment. I flow intuitively in these sessions. So at one point, yeah, I started to feel like I had to make noises. Might have been initiated by a healer when I was in Tulum. I purchased from her a selenite light sword to do light body activations. And through her, I got in contact with, I think, with that part of myself. And the only thing I had to do is opening up to it. And first it was a little unfamiliar, like, using the voice chakra and letting things come out. And now it goes very easy. But what light language is basically a transmission of soul language. It's not understandable in words, but from soul to soul, you will feel it. You
Hmm.
will understand it at soul level. And it could be at activations, it could be needed for clearings.
Hmm.
Um, when that comes through, I not always know for what it is, but I can sense the energy and the emotion that comes with it. So sometimes it's very comforting, very caressing. Sometimes it's letting them connect to their authentic self, like creating a gateway. And there's also different light languages that I do channel, and I never know what comes through. Some
Hmm.
sounds more like, yeah, Asian type, and some more to the tribes in the Amazon.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes more African, and sometimes very angelic.
Hmm.
It is not something I believe that you can study. It's just something that happens and that people feel. So yeah, I like it a lot. It just happens with rapé a lot when I serve rapé and I access the certain field.
Hmm. Yeah, it's really beautiful. I had a teacher one time. Um,
Hmm.
she was from the Philippines,
Hmm.
and she could speak over 150 light languages. And
Wow.
and I think I mentioned this in a previous podcast where she was doing a sound bath, and then during the sound bath she was speaking the light languages. And I remember laying there and hearing this language, and I just got so emotional because I
Yeah.
knew I
Yeah.
knew what it was in my
Yeah.
soul. And then I asked her afterwards, and she confirmed with me, and it was the language of the mer people, like the mermaids and
Wow.
mermen. And I was like, wow, okay, like sometime in some other planet or another dimension of this planet, I had lived as that, and
Yeah.
there was this remembrance, and
Yeah.
it was really, really touching for me and really beautiful. So I know that it can be very opening and impactful for
Yeah.
different people that hear it, and um, you know, it can be a really powerful
Definitely.
tool. Yeah.
Definitely. Not a lot of people know about that yet or have experienced it. So I do always kind of warn them, so to say, like, don't be afraid. I might start to make sounds and things that you don't understand. And, it's just be open to it. And so, And then at one point in my journey of my work, is that suddenly spirits came through as well, which that was a
Mm,
first. Yeah, passed away people and flew on with their names and everything.
wow.
That had a message from my clients, and my clients directly could confirm, yes, because that was my grandma's name, and yes, that's what I did with her. And wow, so it's like there's always growth, which I
Hmm.
love
Hmm.
in development. In what else can we do? What else will come through?
Right.
Just
Yeah.
working with spirit. What do you got for me?
Yeah. It brings on the question, have you noticed any difference using the tuning forks that your mother gave you because they've been so supercharged for many years now?
Yes, well, funny enough, I only have used hers. I've never
Oh,
used any others.
okay.
So I wouldn't know, but probably combined with my intuition when we are in ceremony, I would always at the end finish up with a hands-on or tuning forks, and I always know exactly where to put it. And people would give me the feedback, wow, oh my gosh, you came to me and you put it exactly at that spot where I had years back pain, and now the back pain is gone.
Hmm.
Like crazy things like that. So yeah, could be the tuning forks, could be your spirit guiding me to where it needs to be done. I love the magic in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Mom, for charging them up.
Yes, absolutely. I would still tell her, hey, I have a ceremony. Can you send in your angels as well? Can you put your bliss on it? Like she's part of my spiritual team.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's so awesome and so special. So special, and
Yeah.
it's such a blessing to have that.
Mm.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, what about somatic release?
Well,
We touched
somatic
on it a
release,
little bit.
yeah, because somatic release is something that the body holds on. When the body holds on chronically, long term, to stress or trauma, and trauma it can be one incident, but it could also be little humiliation for a long period of time, which then also is a traumatic situation. So, yeah, when we think of trauma, it doesn't need to be one situation of abuse, it can be little things over time that adds up. So, what happens? Yes, that the memory, the thought, the response into the nervous system gets stuck in the body. So, we can approach it from a real physical point of view, like, yes, the nervous system is constantly responding and working. So now there is a buildup of tension. There is a buildup of, gosh, you can get, what type of disease can you get of it? Well, many, whether it's mentally or physically.
Hmm.
So we want to release that through the body. And it could be through using a gua sha sculpt,
Mm,
gua sha tool, using deep pressure points, rolfing technique, uh, massage, acupuncture, acupressure, breath, all these things to really release from the body. But as a holistic healer, I believe also that the energy body needs to be cleaned up as well.
hmm.
So the energy field, we can have that congested energy in your field as well. So from that perspective, if the congested energy hangs too long in your auric field, let's say it's a gray, dark cloud, It could be a negative thought form. It could be the worry, the anxiety. Could be the trauma. It's hanging in your energy field. If it stays so long, it is known to be able to penetrate into the physical. Now it's in your physical body. So
Hmm.
it works both ways. I don't believe only that people should only have energy healings
Hmm.
because I believe it can still be so strongly in the physical body. But I also believe only somatic release might not be enough because we want to clear the energy body.
Right.
So yeah, I like to work with the both of the fields, but the bottom line is when there is long enough stress or trauma in your field or in your body, it needs to be released. And you can do that in different ways.
Hmm. Yeah,
Makes
yeah.
sense?
I think that approaching it from both aspects, the energy
Yeah.
body and the physical body, is very important. I
Yeah.
think from what I've learned, at least up till now, it
Hmm.
seems as though it starts in the energy body, whatever
Hmm.
is brewing, and then if it stays there too long and it's not cleared out, then it affects the physical. But,
Yes.
most people aren't getting treatments until they're adults. So there's a lot
Correct.
built up in the body throughout their
Yeah.
childhood and adolescent life. And then so that all needs to be cleared. And
Yeah.
what's interesting is that I've actually when I would be in some of these treatments and doing some of these treatments for people, uh, I could sometimes see actual hooks, like claws,
Yeah.
of energy that is like wrapped inside their body. And so
Hmm.
first that needs to be unwound because these things from childhood with these claws are embedded in there, and then they need
Hmm.
to be unraveled, and then from there, once they're unraveled, then it can actually be pulled out because if it's so tight, like a
Yeah.
tight ball of rubber bands with this hook in the middle, you have to unravel all the rubber bands to get to the hook, and only then can you take the hook out. And so sometimes that takes many sessions to get to unravel, and the person needs to be ready to release and
Yeah.
let go of all these old programs and patterns and
Yeah.
all these quote unquote rubber bands and of tissue that are around it.
Yeah.
And I believe things like Alzheimer's and cancer and things like that are also because of a lifetime
Yes.
of not addressing these.
Yes.
Alzheimer's is more mental, cancer is more
Hmm.
physical, right? Like
Hmm.
those are just two examples, but there's so much more. But
Yeah.
and for whatever reason, it seems as though those emotions manifest as these physical ailments,
Yes.
disease.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Um, I highly believe that. Yeah. Like cancer could be a manifestation of certain lower frequencies, vibrations, so to say. Yeah, the darker, heavier, lower emotions
Hmm.
that then manifest into that. Sciatica as well, I believe, is tied to envy or jealousy. They're wanting to control things. So yeah, I do believe that the brain and the nervous system send signals and respond to that with the hormones, with releasing chemicals that can cause things. But from the spiritual energy point of view, yeah, these emotions can manifest when it sits too long, also causes something. Um, that's a very interesting to study these things.
For sure.
Okay, yeah, gain more knowledge. How can we keep ourselves grounded, happy, healthy? Yeah,
It's a daily practice, really.
yeah, yeah,
Every day,
absolutely.
just tuning into what's happening and how can I be more aligned today, more grounded. And I notice there's these patterns that happen for people.
Yeah,
Being in the physical therapy field for 16, 17 years, I would see that people would get a knee replacement, right?
Hmm.
They would come in, we would work on all the physical aspects, we would heal up their knee, and then if they didn't address the emotions and the aspects of self that were involved in that part of their body,
Hmm.
like clockwork, 3 years later, they would come back maybe with a strained knee this time or another knee replacement in the
Yeah.
same knee. And these parts of the body, they just keep trying to release the energy and showing
Yeah.
us as a alarm, right? Like a smoke alarm or a regular
Yeah.
alarm going off, like, hey,
Yeah.
take a look at this, release
Yeah.
the energy, release the what, tune into what's there and
Yeah.
release whatever it is. But in modern society, it's like the emotional aspect is not addressed. It's just
No,
looked
it's
at as
not.
like a physical thing. And it's like, if you
Yeah.
just keep doing that, you're going to keep putting yourself in that same cycle.
Totally. But I also think that people are maybe not capable to address that by themselves. Like,
Right.
you need to have help then of a coach or a certain specific therapist or a mentor that can take you into places from outside perspective of the programming, the patterns, hidden trauma.
For sure.
Uh, yeah. And that is something that luckily more and more people are open to it. Here in the
Hmm.
States, they're more open to these things to explore actually than in the Netherlands, for example.
Hmm.
People they don't invest in the Netherlands in coaches and things like that. That's so weird. Like, why would I pay my money to a person that helps me live my life better?
Right, right.
Yeah,
I already have
but
the
that's
nice car and I have the nice
yeah,
house and I got the white picket fence and oh,
yeah,
actually, I'm not happy. You know,
yeah,
you see
yeah,
that
yeah.
so often.
Yeah, yeah. But the people here, they're quite open, at least in San Diego area, right? They're quite
Right,
open to looking into these things like the limiting beliefs, and it's also it's pretty much a thing to like dive into that. But yeah, it's a small percentage of the world who
right.
understands that it's connected, physical and mental and emotional. Yeah,
And yeah, I totally agree that there's a level of awareness that has to be there. And
yeah,
so if the awareness isn't there, um, it's like the body and the mind run on autopilot.
yes, yeah.
And have you ever worked with the medicine sassafras?
Ah, I've heard about it. I've heard about it. Never worked with it.
It's one of my favorite medicines because I believe with a lot of different plant medicines, once you've worked with it, some of the essence stays with you.
Uh-huh.
And one of sassafras is known as like the major heart opener. And
Okay.
when you take it, it's like the heart is just blasted open, like you don't have a choice but for it to
Wow.
just explode open. And on that medicine, there's not very many visuals. It's not like
Okay.
psychedelic per se, but
Yeah.
there's these really, it's still an entheogen in the sense that it gives you a perspective from above of what's happening in your programs and all these things that are running in your life.
Okay. I like
So
to experience that.
yeah, it's like hyper
I should come down
awareness of
one
it.
day to you.
Yeah, it's a hyper awareness of it. I've done it twice, and
Yeah.
and both times I'll be like about to say something or I'll say it and I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, that's a program that I've been running for
Yes.
for
Yeah.
for 30, 35, 38 years, whatever, right?"
Wow.
And
Yeah.
and so in that moment I can catch it because it's showing you the blind spots. It's showing
Yes.
it's showing those parts that I'm, that even with a really high awareness, you may not be able to be aware because everybody has blind
No.
spots.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
so I remember sitting with my partner at the time and it was like a voicemail came on. Like she would say the same things and this program was like very obvious to me, you know?
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
hey, this. And I'm like, you've said the same thing to me hundreds of times and with the same words, with this, it's like a
Yeah.
voicemail, like on the phone, like, hey, I'm
Yeah.
not here right now. Leave a
Yeah.
message, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Wow.
it was just so profound to see. that, and I saw it in myself too, and like
Yeah.
all the ways I was blocking myself with these different patterns. And so that medicine in particular, I think can open up that awareness for people.
And then when you came down from that, how did that integration go? Were you kind of like, yeah, you have the awareness now, so you could shift into something new
Yeah,
easily?
in real time, I could see from above when
Mm-hmm.
somebody else or myself were playing out a program. and
Okay.
and it was like that voicemail, but it's more energetic, it's more subtle,
Yeah.
where
Okay.
I can see deeper into what's happening, especially if somebody's showing more resistance to something like, finances is a huge topic and a huge thing
Yeah.
that people have to do a lot of internal work to remove these programs and beliefs in order to
Yeah.
expand their energetic wallet, and in
Mm-hmm.
order to like feel good enough in themselves and good enough about themselves to receive these larger amounts of money. And in the spiritual community, this is very, it's a huge thing, because very,
Correct.
very,
Correct. Yeah.
very there's so many beliefs, and who knows how many lifetimes or ancestry
Yes.
have
Yeah.
told us, if you have a lot of money, that's the opposite of the spiritual path. And
Yes.
it's like the more you let go of attachment and let go of these things, then but in the world nowadays, you need it to pay the bills, to live,
Totally.
even if you want to live off the land, you need to buy the trees, you need to buy the,
Yeah.
it's
You
like
need to buy
money's
the land
needed.
first.
Right, right. Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Yeah.
it's like that. No, I feel like I came also far in my development, but that is also still something that I want to expand on. Like, oh, I so many aspects I'm like cool, content, but that is a hard, I think, feel like almost the hardest one to break, which is again then a limiting belief.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
gosh,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
human brain that keeps
Right.
us trapped. Oh my gosh.
It's
Time
really
for that sassafras.
yeah, I mean, that one is really, like, for me, I did 1,000 days of the same Kundalini Yoga Kriya, just working on my prosperity and abundance.
Yeah,
And
wow.
and then even after that, I took many courses and watched many videos,
Yeah.
and did a lot of subconscious programming. And
Mhm.
then what really shifted it was I looked at my astrocartography. And
Okay, what is that?
astrocartography is fascinating, and because you've done a lot of travel, this is uh
Oh, hey, is that like that you can check where your best place in the world is to be, to live?
Yeah,
I've
but not
done that
even
many
to,
years
yeah,
ago.
not even to live, but it's the lines that
Yeah.
cross along the planet depending on your astrology. So
Yes.
so where those lines intersect and where those
Yeah.
lines are on the planet through certain cities and certain parts of the world give you different activations. So one of
Oh
them is
yeah.
potential, one is stepping into your power, one is
Yeah.
falling in the perfect relationship, one is doing all these things. And for me and my girlfriend, Las Vegas, it's the only place in America where our lines cross for prosperity. And so we've been able to both amplify that for each other. And Vegas being one of the top abundance cities of the world,
Yeah.
Dubai and these places, right? There's this huge activation of that happening here for me, and so it's looking at that and maybe backtracking and seeing and connecting those dots for you, where it was like, oh, I went
Yeah.
this way when I went to this country, and I had this
Yeah.
activation happen here. And so many of my friends that have traveled so much, uh, I feel like part of why they embody so much and are able to hold so much space and be really in their authentic self is because they've had all these different activations from
Oh, that makes
parts
sense.
of the planet.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I feel it is the biggest gift you can give yourself to travel because different parts of yourself will be activated and also will be stripped away.
Right.
Like I definitely felt that when I left when I was 28. I was like, wow, everything I thought was normal and that's not normal here. Like, so yeah, I definitely was stripped away of things. And then I could slowly rebuild myself with what is my truth and take from every religion, every country, every place, every conversation. I could take something and put it together, basically. So yeah, that so resonates with what you say. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and I think from the other end of it, you're also grounding your light into all the places that you're going and
Mm.
raising the frequency just by your
Oh
presence.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, true, true.
So that's
And I
like grid
wonder
work.
where I'm needed next though. Like I'm because I don't feel I belong in one spot. It's never
Right.
like, oh, in that country or that place I will grow old. I just not feel that.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm just not rooted, so to say, in one place. I have children now and they want to stay in their school and in their city and with their
Of course.
friends. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing that as a sacrifice because otherwise I would not. But I'm wondering what is next. Like I'm single. Like where do I want to live? What is my next investment? What is my next biggest push in my company? Because I feel like something else I want to expand in
Hmm.
or calling that abundance or that wow factor or that new love of my life.
Hmm.
No
Hmm.
idea. No idea what's going to happen.
Well, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of not knowing, right? It's like infinite
Yeah.
possibility, and it's all coming. It's all coming to you, and yeah, it's there's so much beauty in that. And I was actually talking with one of my friends last night, and he has a 20-year-old son who is living in a very um, low vibrational, low, like very dense part of the
Yeah.
country where he feels like he can't even get a job, he can't really expand. There's a lot of
Hmm.
drugs and violence and things around him. And so he called it what you did. He said, it's a sacrifice for me to bring him to Las Vegas so he can have a better life here, so I can
Yeah.
set him up with these things. But it's, I like to serve. I like to look at it as selfless service to these
Mm.
beings, right? It's like
Yeah.
we're not sacrificing anything. We're making a choice to continue this this lineage, to continue teaching them and giving them a life that will provide them the foundation and the grounding
Yes.
and the way to expand and really step into their truth.
I like
And
that.
I think that we are very magnetic as beings, and so we can magnetize all that. And then there will be a knowing when it's the next place to go,
Yes.
or for a trip for a month or whatever it is that
Yeah.
we need to do. And there's
Yeah.
still ways to keep that in balance and in a really
Yeah.
beautiful harmony.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's my vision as well. No, I so it's not a sacrifice in that way because I have my freedom, I travel, I will go to Costa Rica again, I do ceremonies in Seattle. Like I was just 9 months with my children in the Netherlands.
Oh,
So now
beautiful.
they're very well traveled. They are going to Hawaii. So I mean, how lucky are they? They live in Hawaii, they live here. Like they live their best life.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely,
It'll
I
be
do my
good for
whole
them to travel
yoga.
and see the world one day so they can appreciate what they have, because when you
Yes.
grow up like that,
Yeah.
people start taking things for granted how good it is.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, it's wonderful. No, no, all good, all good. It's the season of life. That's how I call it. The season of life where that is now a big purpose. They are a big purpose
Yeah,
in
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful, and what's interesting is the next question actually uh,
Yeah.
is not something we discussed yet, but it's about sacred geometry and about putting that on our bodies as tattoos. I see you have it there.
Yeah.
So you have the Merkaba.
Yeah. Where are you?
I have mine here,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and then over here on my neck I have uh, it's
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah.
it's actually a light
Nice.
language stamp
Ooh.
of like my life. So
Wow.
yeah, this woman, like it's kind of like a soul stamp is how I look
Yeah.
at it. Is this woman in Tulum? She you tell her what you want in your tattoo, and then she tunes into you, and then she will create this individual tattoo just for you with these dots, and I wanted the galactic butterfly in my tattoo. And
Yeah.
in the Mayan tradition, the galactic butterfly is kind of like the yin yang of
Uh-huh.
of Asia, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
there's this, but it's like infinite. It like goes inside itself, and it's like it's more representative of that cyclical pattern of life, and
Mm-hmm.
how we everything's a cycle and a pattern. And so, but then it's also like this galactic butterfly, and it represents that universal wisdom that whoever
Yeah.
carries it is here to share with the world. And so I told her I wanted it on there, but she made it very subtle and very like small inside there. And then the way that I recognize different souls, or souls recognize me, is they'll see my tattoo and they'll say, "Wow, what is that?"
Yeah.
And for me, that's a sign that maybe I've known this person in a I call it a previous life, but everything is
Yes.
happening now, and so there is no time. But at some point in in the soul's lineage, they had
Yes.
known me, and so
Yeah.
it's really interesting. And then I have so so you so yeah, the Merkaba
Yeah.
that we both have is like the for those that don't know, is like the um uh light it's a light vehicle that we can create through meditation with our intention, that our soul sits in the middle of it, and then it circulates around us, and it can take us to anywhere in the galaxy, and any dimension, anywhere we want to go.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
I love it.
and then I
Yeah.
have the solar eclipse behind it, where the moon and the
Okay.
sun overlap. And so that's like the merging of the masculine and feminine.
Beautiful. I like it. Yes, for
Yeah.
me too. I love it, definitely because they have their meanings of life and how to use them in life,
Hmm.
and like the seed of life, and how life is birthed, and how in everywhere in nature and in the smallest cells it all comes down back to that seed of life and to the same sacred geometry shapes. And so yeah, that's very sacred to me. I took them all in different countries all around
Uh-huh.
the world.
I
I
figured,
like
yeah.
like a souvenir,
Uh-huh.
and artist works on it. So yeah, now I'm working on like finishing up here my sleeve a little more.
Cool.
Um, but yeah, I also looking for somebody who can work with an intentional tattoo like that. Like yeah, I love it. Meanings behind it.
Yeah, there's a guy in Bali that I know of,
Yeah, cool.
that my some of my buddies have gone to see him, and it's so beautiful because he sits down with you for 5 minutes, and he just looks into your eyes, into your soul.
Oh,
And
wow.
for 5 minutes, he just decides whether he's even going to do the tattoo.
Yeah.
And it's like it's even hard to get to him. He's like in the back of this alley in this
Yeah.
beautiful house, and like it's like you got to know somebody that knows him, you know. And then he sits there and he tunes in if he's gonna even do it, and then
Wow.
all you can tell him is where you want it, and then
Yeah.
and then he does what spirit guides him through
Yeah.
to do, and then he just creates this beautiful masterpiece on you. And to me, that is like such a sacred way
Yeah.
of doing tattoos, and of bringing in this like higher, because it's like spirit working through him to create
Yes.
this masterpiece on your body that is very highly connected to something like part of your mission or part of your journey, and
Yeah. Little memories, it's you put it down very specific times in life, and yeah, that's wonderful. Well, I'm not flying to Bali, but maybe Costa Rica.
yeah, yeah. So, also I think tattoos as part of our journey, if somebody gets something when they're younger and going through some darker times,
Yeah.
it can show us, on sassafras in particular. I remember my girlfriend had a tattoo that said love, but love was in like there was a gun that was the L, the O was like a grenade, the V was
Mm.
it was like love wasn't safe. Love was like a war. Love was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
all these things that
Yeah.
weren't resonating for her anymore, and she wanted to get it removed. But yeah, I thought that was so interesting because there was aspects of that were showing up on the medicine that were little
Mm.
blocks, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so that was
Wow.
really interesting how, the things we choose to put in our body eventually has these deeper meanings sometimes.
Totally. Yes, yes, if you choose for that. When people are sometimes in their journey and they see my tattoos are coming to life for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure, especially on psilocybin.
Want to go through the portal.
Right, right. All right.
Mm.
Let's get in the Merkaba that's coming out of your arm.
Yeah. Funny.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
it's been
wonderful.
yeah, there's so much more we could talk about, and I'd love to have you on again. You're welcome on anytime,
Thank you.
and yeah, there's so much to discuss in these things, but I think
Yeah.
I think that we covered so much already, and yeah, well, this will be a lot of potent information for people. So thank you for sharing
Yes.
sharing
Thank you.
yeah, thank you for sharing your teachings and your gifts and all the ways that you help the planet. So it's been an honor to have you on. Until next time, and Cinderella is your real government name that you were given at birth. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's not a spiritual name you took on later on. So
No.
uh, it's beautiful, and yeah, thank you so much. Until next time, Cinderella.
Absolutely.
Okay, take care.